Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Happy 2023. Oh, I forgot to get my teacup. It's been so long. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees. And here we are. Woo! So, welcome to... Sorry, I'm reading messages from one of our guests in the private chat, but take that up with you later. Anyway... Welcome to the first live show of 2023. The Teacup for One Oscar Movie Marathon is back, and appropriately enough, our guess was right. An Avatar: Way of Water was nominated for Best Picture, although not much else. Kind of a pleasant surprise as far as I'm concerned. But for the next few weeks, I can't tell you exactly how many, probably like 6 to 8 or so, we're going to be coming together at least once a week on the channel to do a deep dive into one of the films either nominated for Best Picture or just kind of in the Oscar pool if it's a movie that we found particularly worth discussing. We kind of planned out what all the movies would be in advance of the nominations coming out, and all of them were correct because you can kind of figure out the entire Oscar race if you do enough research, but there we are. Anyway, let me check right here. Let's see who we have joining us today. We've got A.G. Kemper. Full disclosure, you have not seen Way of Water, but you did see the first one in IMAX with your dad. Oh, you saw it twice and enjoyed it. I saw Avatar, the original, once in IMAX and did not enjoy it. I saw Way of Water twice, once in IMAX and once in regular 3D, and I enjoyed it in regular 3D. IMAX hurt my eyes. What's this? They say Avatar had no wider impact, but it got me into environmental science at age 14. Okay, well, that's fantastic. That makes me respect the franchise significantly more. You know, you have 2 environmental science degrees, and you're working as an engineer. All right. That makes me feel better that this franchise exists, because a lot of my argument is, what's the point of this franchise existing? But as long as it's impacting people to make the world a better place, that makes me happy. But speaking of people that Avatar has impacted, let's bring in our guests for this evening. We're going to bring in our very first guest. Some might say that they are a composer of great songs. It's Alex T-Tie, everybody. Alex, hello.
Hello. Hello. Was that
Hello.
a snide attempt to call me an underhanded attempt rather to call me a whale?
Sure.
All right. Well, I'll take it. That was cool.
Yes, absolutely. Well,
and they're architecture majors and composers and mathematicians.
Exactly.
Course. Yeah, according to the Way of Water. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Well,
how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for joining us. How has your 2023 been thus far?
It's been cool. I had delayed start in Canada because I was out of the country in the previous year at the end, and I got back January 5th, 6th. So that was an interesting adventure. No, but I did visit Singapore, which has a garden, like a botanical garden type thing. It's not a botanical garden, but it has like a outdoor garden thing that features artificial constructions that look similar to the, I don't know, like, I don't actually know if they look like anything in Avatar, but they're called, like, they're referenced as Avatar trees or something. So they're these trees that have a thin base and they go wide at the top and they're all lit up, and at night they have pretty lights, and they look like they could fit in the Avatar universe. But I can't right now. I can't think of the tree in Avatar, the movie, that it's referencing, but it may be.
The tree's name is Awa.
No, that's not the tree's name. That's the name of, like,
the tree is the vessel for Awa.
Well, there are many trees. There's not one tree.
There's one tree per movie. The first one was above water. This one was underwater, and it's the Awa tree.
Yeah.
And it's capable of impregnating robots, as we'll discuss. Anyway, let's bring in our next guest for this evening. She might look like a teenager, but she's actually Sigourney Weaver. It's Jeanette.
What?
I'll take either one of those statements and hold it dear. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you. So I don't know. Do I like this movie? I'm not sure. Yeah, no, I
Well,
like this movie.
That's a solid question. That
We'll just
thus
start
will
with
be
that,
the crux
but
of
yeah.
this discussion. But yeah.
And I like A.G. Kemper's comments because I too started out as an environmental science major when I started college.
You did?
Ended up being a chef. It was a long and very windy road, but kudos to them. And yeah, so I'm glad also that this movie impacted someone as well. But I think I was already past that stage by the time I saw Avatar. But yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, did Avatar make you pursue it, or did Avatar
No, that was quite
make you
a
decide?
ways after that time.
Oh. I was gonna say, was Avatar what made you decide no, environmental science, too many trees?
No,
Too many
it just
tree
makes me
goddesses.
cry a lot of tears. A lot of
Oh.
tears. Yeah.
Oh, it made me cry a lot of tears, but it was because the IMAX was hurting my brain in the high frame rate. So there we are. Anyway, yeah. Jeanette, how's your 2023 been?
It's fantastic. A new Avatar movie came out, so it's pretty great so far.
That happened in 2022. That's so last year.
There's a new Avatar movie, and they announced a new Tron movie. Both things take about 10 to 13 to 25 years to do, so I'm happy.
Yay! Hooray. Yeah, they also announced when the Tron ride is opening, so that's exciting. They have a date.
Right. My life is it's all coming up, roses. It's great.
For me and for you.
It's pretty fantastic.
Hooray. Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see if Animal Kingdom does anything to acknowledge that there's a new Avatar movie, because thus far I don't think they have.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know, anything. I don't even care what it is. Something for this movie. I would like an extension on the Navi River ride. That would be my hope.
It should just go under the water.
Yeah, can we just get a drop and then like a new
Yes.
scene? I'll take it. That's what I want.
That'd be incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's discuss this movie. Was anyone surprised it was nominated for Best Picture? I wasn't.
No, not at all.
No. Alex?
All right. So like I don't do like award shows or anything like that. Like it's been a long time. Like it's high school was the last time I cared about like Oscars and stuff. So, but having said all that, and the other thing is that I don't know. Out of everything else that's been nominated, I don't think I've seen anything. Except for the Banshees of Inisherin, whatever that name is.
Banshees and Banshees. It's just synergy. It's all synergy.
So compared to that movie, this movie should not be within a 10-mile hole of that film in terms of quality. So no, it should not be a Best Picture nomination. Definitely not.
Fascinating.
Shouldn't do.
No, I mean I fully agree. But before we get into that, just going into this movie, how many of us had already seen original Avatar? I feel like all of us. Yes.
We all saw it in theaters, obviously.
Yeah, we also all saw Pocahontas, right? So that's
exactly.
pretty much all you need to watch.
My gosh.
So.
No, well, this is everyone says that it's Pocahontas. Truth be told, it is more so Atlantis: The Lost Empire. Almost beat for beat.
The animated
Which would
film?
make way more sense as to why I'm attached to it.
Yeah, like when you watch Alex, have you seen Atlantis?
Yeah, I have.
It's almost the exact same movie.
Except the guy's nerdy, not a soldier, but yeah.
Yes, because there's even a part.
How does he become like powerful or empowered? How does
I
that
don't know. There's a sequel.
joins
Did
the
anybody
Atlantic
watch that? I haven't.
Empire.
Yeah, I know he integrates with the Atlanteans and he falls in love with the Atlantis lady, but he doesn't get his legs. He doesn't.
The villain is the exact same character. It's like the
but that's Tarzan,
military guy.
And hear me out. It's an original movie.
No.
That a man was planning for like 20 years.
No, he liked Pocahontas, and he thought, "What if he liked
Atlantis?" There's a point in Atlantis when Milo goes to like this sea-doo thing, and he has to pair with it in order for it to drive.
Yeah, I haven't seen Atlantis in so long, so I can't really I can't fully argue against it, but. It's like Avatar, like colonialism, white man, kill the indigenous. Like that's Pocahontas. That's colonial, explores New World, indigenous.
Could we say that it's a modern theme that maybe could be followed by a lot of things, and that a coincidence is a coincidence, and maybe
No.
be okay with it?
We can't do that. No, I don't think so. I'm not there
Don't
yet.
be logical. Yeah.
I'm open to that argument, but you haven't convinced me.
Okay. Well, not Kame. It's cool.
Okay. Hakuna Matata. Hakuna Matata.
Just Matata. This movie is only Matata. Oh, none of us are wearing the shirt. It's fine.
No.
So first impressions when you first saw Avatar, when the movie first came out. Let's go back.
Avatar.
Original Avatar. What do you recall
Okay.
about seeing original Avatar? What were your expectations going in? Did the movie meet them? Did the movie exceed them? Did it not? I saw it because it was the thing to see because of all the media hoopla about how it was the next big thing and how it was revolutionizing 3D. So I went to see it in 3D and it was fine. It was a 3D movie. I didn't understand why there were cat alien people. And I had no interest in it after the movie was over. And there it is. And then I had a renewed interest when Disney themed an entire part of their land to the universe. And I spent the entire sequel thinking I went back to Animal Kingdom and explore Pandora because that's the only thing I like that came out of this franchise. There we go. There, my thoughts, opening thoughts. Jeanette.
So I had big hopes and they were all fulfilled, and I cried so much the first time that I saw it that like the 3D wasn't great for me. So I saw it twice in 3D and I think I saw it once regular. I think so. That sounds right. But I was very into it. I thought it was great. And then whenever I bought, my first, Blu-ray or DVD of it, I would watch it, and then my daughter fell in love with it pretty early in life. I don't know. She found an attachment to it. It was around the same time that The Land was coming out. And I remember seeing the floating mountains whenever I got off the bus at Animal Kingdom and like just bawling because it was just like the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And so, yeah, big emotional attachment. Obviously, we have so much. There's more.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a big attachment, and it's always paid off. Like every time I watch it, I still cry. And for me, crying is like, I know for some people it doesn't, whatever, but like, I don't know. That's a fact.
That's why you watch movies.
Yeah.
So you can cry.
No, that is the goal. Yeah. You want to have the catharsis.
I want to be affected. I either want to laugh or I want to cry, or be scared, whatever,
Valid. So. Okay. I'm excited to hopefully have you change my mind. Alex, what are your opening thoughts on original Avatar?
Yeah.
So when you first saw it, what were your thoughts? Let's go.
Yeah. So like I think it's, it was a while ago and my memory's not great, but from what I can remember, I think I think it had a theatrical release in 2009 and then it had a re-release in 2010.
Probably.
Because I know it had a re-release of some sort. I don't know definitively that they re-released it in theaters. But if they did, then what I think happened is I missed the original theatrical release. I didn't jump. I avoided the hype train. Then I saw it on a 3D television because that was kind of popularized a bit, and it wasn't ubiquitous, but
that was a big deal at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And we all thought the TVs were just going to be like holographic at this point, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we had the glasses that you had to get to watch it and everything. Like the 3D glasses that you get with the TVs are different than the 3D glasses of the theater, and like they had their own batteries, their own internal battery. Anyway, so I watched it that way the first time. And I remember thinking that the 3D effect was cool, but of course the TV. So anyway, I think I watched it on the TV first at like my uncle's house in Romania, incidentally, and then I watched it in theaters for the re-release. So when I watched it the first time, I know my initial impression of Avatar was unimpressed, which is to say, I thought the 3D was cool, but kind of gimmicky, and I thought that the plot was Pocahontas, and therefore, and I like Pocahontas, but it's just rehashing old grounds. I didn't find anything interesting in the movie myself. I thought it wasn't particularly engaging for me. There wasn't a performance that particularly grabbed me. and the content, the writing of the narrative wasn't interesting to me. Both, and I felt, in fact, it was worse than Pocahontas. Like, there were more loopholes and things. However, I also did appreciate the intentional or not world building. So I did like Pandora. I did like the technology. I mean, the walkers the human walker machines, they're very similar actually in design to the to similar walker mechanical suits that are in the Matrix, specifically Matrix 2 and 3, Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions, which I love the Matrix. I love that series. The fourth one was meant. But anyway, so anyway, I liked the the world of Avatar, of Pandora, the sci-fi of it. I'm a sci-fi guy. And now, and I also do have theories as to the same way as I get the impression that this movie, like Avatar, was made, I don't think that it was made intentionally to rip off Pocahontas. I just think it did kind of absent-mindedly, and I also think that there are a number of things in the movie, like world design elements, that weren't intentionally designed. Like they were intentionally designed, but not to create a world, but they were just designed to do the thing they do.
Are you talking about the Avatar-sized firearms?
Yeah. So that's one of the examples I talked with Matt about.
Who's Max?
How he's a friend of mine that I've been chatting to right before I got on the show, but that's incidental.
Late. Okay.
It's like the guns, right? It's like, that's a cool in-universe phenomenon where it's like the human weapons that the Avatar body people characters use. It's like, like in universe, that makes sense. They had to create custom weapons or rescaled weapons that fit in Avatar, because Avatar are bigger, stronger. They wouldn't necessarily be able to wield ergonomically a weapon that a human could wield. They'd have to get their own custom weapons. And you can see in the movie when Avatar walk around, they have appropriately proportional weapons, so it's given that they're designed for them. But the movie never talks about that. It never, and it doesn't have to. I don't think it has to. But my suspicion is that there was no world building there. There was no backstory in the writers.
Years of world building.
Hey, I'm not.
I do feel that Alex is giving more thought to the Avatar scaled weapon than James Cameron did.
I'm saying I'm suspicious. I'm not being definitive here. I'm not. You may, and I'm open. So if you come at me with, watch this making of this 10-hour making of Avatar documentary that shows the decades of writing and research and world building.
Anytime he talks, he'll tell you.
I haven't listened to that talk once. So I mean, maybe you can maybe the director's commentary of Avatar.
I didn't find out until rather recently in life. I self-discovered that I'm a James Cameron fan, and I didn't really know that until I looked back at all the movies I like, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm a James Cameron fan. I didn't
always think I'm not a James Cameron fan. Then I rewatched Titanic and realized that I love that movie.
And Aliens. And just these little dots throughout. And if you've ever seen what is it? Oh Piranha my god, 2? the animated one that he touched. That was part of what he was working on. But
he touched an animated movie?
Yeah, there's it's part live action, part animated, but I can't remember the name
Cool
of it.
World?
It's escaping me right now. No. That would not be great. Wouldn't that have been great? Oh my gosh. But yeah, I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, no, I pretty much in Terminator, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I like everything.
I feel like his movies get progressively worse with the more power and the more money that he's given. So I guess transition. Let's talk about Avatar 2, which kind of ties into that. What did we think of that? Because I felt like it in some ways was worse because of the money and the power he had been given. Yet in many other ways, I liked it more than original Avatar. But that's not saying much, because I didn't like original Avatar. But my issue, I realized with this movie, or with the franchise, that this movie made me realize, is that I don't like Jake Sully as a character. It's not that nothing against the actor.
Jake Sully.
Yeah, I don't care for Jake's
I will
movie.
speak to that. I will say I think that's why it was shocking to people that he waited so long because that was not a really like notable, lovable character. Like
Mhm.
that wasn't someone that people clung to. I think more so Natiri, and that wasn't pushed enough. I don't think.
Natiri's
In the second movie
amazing.
you're talking about?
Either
Or just
really.
okay.
Well, part of my
Either,
issue with the
I'd
second
say.
movie is that I feel like they ruined Natiri, who I think is the most engaging character based on the first movie. The first
Yeah.
movie, she like as the Pocahontas type, like I adored
I mean,
her.
she's still the most engaging character, I think.
But
But
I felt like all
yeah.
she was doing in this movie was crying and screaming about things being destroyed.
Well, wouldn't you be crying and screaming?
Oh, I would, except I feel like James could have shown us more of her.
Why is
being
But
that
that's just not
shocking?
entertaining. We don't watch movies
Their
for
whole
reality. We watch
world
it
is
for
like they're on the.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Jeanette.
Yeah, like I think and that point was just hit home to me when I watched SNL's parody, Avatar parody this past weekend. And all Natiri did, she just showed up and started screaming. And then she
Oh my
left.
god! See, I haven't seen it yet. Oh my gosh!
Oh,
yeah.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious. She walks
That's one
in.
thing I will say.
Yeah.
I love all the satirical stuff that comes out of an Avatar movie.
Oh yeah,
Everybody like loses their minds, and it's all like
because it's so
you know.
it's so high concept that it's ridiculous in the best way possible and in some of the not best ways possible. And I almost like I question if this would even classify as science fiction. In my mind, it's teetering more so towards fantasy, just because of how out there it is.
Yeah, I don't think we view them as
Sci-fi
aliens,
fantasy
right?
can be.
We don't view them as aliens. I don't think. I mean, they are, but I don't think anybody watches this movie and views them as aliens.
Yeah. We especially the movie. Like it'd be one thing if there was any kind of like if they involved Earth in any real capacity, right? Like if we had that perspective of what life, but all we see in the movies are Pandora, right? And humans on Pandora and encroaching in Pandora, and we're introduced to the Na'vi as this indigenous species, and so I don't think
like if they didn't get to Pandora on ships, I think it would be a fantasy movie. Like if they got there through a wardrobe, automatic fantasy movie. If they got there from a twister, fantasy movie.
Well, we don't even see them get there. We don't even we don't even see humans landing on the we see them. Sorry, in the second movie we do see landing. Yeah, but we've already established
it's never made a big deal of. And I think, and I also think it's very hard. And I'll speak to this. Matt can speak to this. Alex, I don't know if you've ever been to Pandora at Animal Kingdom. So good. Like maybe this is a good way. Like I don't think that at this point in time I can separate myself from that either. So I think there's a lot going into this movie. There's a lot already built up there, like that's been maintained over some years from now. It's been a while now. So I will say that's like a little asterisk on everything that I'll say.
What's your point there? Are you just saying that you have like a bunch of bias?
That now there's been with the sequel, since I've been going there in between these two movies, I think I can't separate from that. Like that can't be taken out of my opinion.
I think the experience of having Pandora or Avatar Land at Disney World heightens the viewing experience.
Gotcha. You're more immersed. It's more easy for you to get immersed in what's happening on screen because you've been in the park.
Personally,
the synergy.
You're just
benefit. Like even for me with Way of Water, watching it, I was thinking I'm enjoying a lot of these sequences solely because I've been to Pandora at Animal Kingdom, and it's making me think of that and the good times I had there eating the boba ball rice noodle things. Yeah. So good. So good.
It's kind of like watching a Harry Potter, like that play we watched, that Harry Potter. Now we watched together. Did we watch it together? No, we didn't. We wanted to watch it together. We're
still going to. It's on the list. I just said I can't afford tickets right now because we just spent $100 on Into the Woods.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we could probably find pretty cheap tickets, but
Into the Woods.
Into the Woods, February 19th in Buffalo. Can't wait. Woo.
Woo.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. So Way of Water. So Way of Water. I like it more. This was my original point. I like this movie more than original Avatar because I think Jake Sully is a poorly written, boring character. Natiri is more engaging, but I don't think she is done justice or given the screen time that she deserves in this movie. But overall, I think the characters of the kids are enough to hold my attention, and I like it for that, because the kids are characters who are actually somewhat interesting to watch, minus like the older brother and the younger sister. Actually, just Sigourney Weaver and the misfit younger son.
Who was your favorite character
in this one?
Yeah.
Okay, this is difficult because my favorite character was probably Spider, but I don't think the kid is a great actor, and I like him. I like that character on paper better than I liked watching him in the movie. Like the idea.
I disagree hardcore.
What, you disagree that he's your favorite?
Pick.
Why? I think
he's a nothing character. He's incidental.
He's a fascinating character.
His only purpose
he's the only human that's left.
His only purpose is to serve as the thing that shows that develops the Colonel's character. That's the only purpose Spider serves.
He's the only human that's left. He's like the inverse.
Oh, he is. They have other.
Alex, did you say the Colonel's your favorite character?
Yes. Of course, actually, the Colonel, my favorite character, and that's what I wanted Matt to say.
The Colonel might be my favorite character.
No,
but this is the problem. This is my
he's my favorite character in the second film. In the first film, he's nothing. He's just a stereotypical bad guy. In the second film, he's by far the most interesting character.
He is definitely.
Now, but I also felt most of the performances were compelling personally in the second movie. I haven't gotten to my.
Okay, so wait. So Matt, you like Sigourney Weaver's character.
She also
he
likes the Colonel.
You do or you don't?
Well,
okay. I'm getting at a lot of people's hangups come with the fact that there's people who are back from the dead.
Yeah.
Or whatever that means.
But I thought the way they did the Colonel was so interesting.
Oh,
because it wasn't like
I
it was
have no issue with it, but I hear that a lot. Like, oh, that was
interesting. Yeah. I mean, I haven't.
No, I think this movie justified how they brought back people brilliantly.
Wonderful.
I mean,
good. I'm glad that's not okay.
I mean, I'll disagree that I think the Sigourney Weaver character, like, I didn't have an issue with it, but it's total, Deus Ex Machina or whatever. Like, it's total, like, they don't explain it at all, right? It's just magic.
Yeah. Well, the existence of her character is very.
There's
James Cameron in the sense
she was like assimilated into the freaking tree, into the life force. So like it makes
it makes a lot of sense. I get assimilated into the life force all the time and come back as a similar looking but not the same thing.
They all live in the big white dangly things.
Yeah, no, they're memories
in the life tree.
I understand. I don't have an issue
sign
with
language for whatever the heck.
Yeah, it's
I haven't learned the biology
upside down
of
west
this
side
movie again yet. So. The original one, I used to have that like what did they call it? Like the Biomes of Pandora book that they sold at Barnes and Noble for like years and years. Right.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. But no,
like where it is now. Stay lovey.
I think no, my point with the what was her name? The Sigourney character. What's the character's name?
Like Butterfly or
Kira or
Kira.
No,
Kira.
Anyway, the Sigourney Weaver's character, she I don't have an issue because there's the first movie and the second movie, they both have enough magic in them in terms of this energy and Diwa or whatever, that they can come up with an explanation as an explanation. It doesn't have to be a scientific or just an explanation. But they didn't, is my point. Like there's this artificial mystery when either we know at the end of the day either she came because magic, which is like, okay, just say because magic, like where there's no tension or mystery of like, oh, are they gonna say just magic? I think they're gonna say just magic. Or they're not gonna say just magic. They're gonna come up with some convoluted or scientific or whatever. And it's like, anyway,
I will say when they suggested that it could have been
Sigourney Weaver and the scientist guy.
That was in, I don't know if you remember. I think it's him. I think it's the same actor. Forgive me if it's not. But have either of you seen Grandma's Boy?
Yeah. But I don't think it was him. I don't think it was him.
No, that's not the guy.
I don't think so.
That was him. I was like, oh my god, I want that to be the story.
That would.
Oh, Grandma's Boy, man. Bad movie, but a classic as well.
like Avatar.
Hey, it's a classic. I'll watch it anytime. But if I watch it now,
I thought that was the same actor, but yeah, that actor actually, I kind of wish he was the guy that did the. I wish he did the announcement at Flights of Passage, the pre-show.
Yes.
I wish it was him. Whenever I saw that the first time, I was like, I mean, this guy's good, but dang, I wish it was that tech guy.
Did you know that guy from the pre-show is selling his own merch now?
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
everybody should.
It says and a shirt.
Oh wait, you're right. No, Janet is the guy.
Sure.
Is an actor.
Is it? I'm pretty. That's my superpower.
Well done. Well
Knowing
done.
actors from weird little bits.
Yeah, I just think he looked very different back then. But I'll have to rewatch it, or at least watch a clip.
He looked similar enough. Like I could have used more of him
in the movie.
More interesting than Jake Sully, but there it is. Yeah. How did we feel about Sigourney Weaver playing a teenager when apparently she's 73? I didn't realize Sigourney was that old. I know. I thought like early 60s. But yeah, how do we feel she pulled off a 14-year-old? Because I don't think she did.
Well, can I preface all of this? Like, I don't think I knew she was that age either. I don't think they brought that up in the interview I listened to. In the interview I listened to, she described the underwater training that she did for this movie. Granted, this was some years ago, so yes, she wouldn't have been 73. This was probably
she would have been like 60.
She would have still been in her 60s.
Yeah.
So like she said that there was like 4 hours a day total of underwater, like just like and like breath practice and stuff. Like it's wild. Just if you seek out an interview with her, it's amazing to listen to. Yeah, with that said, I'll take her any way I can get her in this movie. And I said before, like I like how she was reintroduced. And I'll say this about this whole movie, and it comes out of maybe little things like this with her character. Things may seem weird or pushed or whatever right now, but the first two are kind of a two-part of one. It's kind of like this is like it really is a bridge movie. I really do feel that way about this movie, and I think if you're okay with that and you just let it go, then it's like you can enjoy it because you have to be excited for the next one. Pretty much because they're both made. They're done. We're going to get the next one. It's not like, oh, we may not get the next one. So he doesn't need to write it that way because it's done. So we're getting it. And so it really is part one of a movie that's already made. So that's so when I approach her character where I did feel at first, I was like, okay, yeah, it's a little bit, it's a little intense at first. You're like, that's Sigourney Weaver, and that's definitely a child. So you're like, but you have to be, this is where we're at. The acting is the acting, and it's coming through. Did she do that? Like, that's the question. And I don't know if she did it as well as Zoe Saldana does it, but Zoe Saldana is the queen of doing it. So, I mean, well, you're going to show up to that plate. Kate Winslet did it. But
Kate Winslet Winslet did everything. We love Kate Winslet.
Yeah.
Well, we love all of them. Sigourney. I think my thing with Sigourney was that, I mean, thinking about it in the context as we're going to see that character evolve and probably carry subsequent films as it goes on, like I can see myself enjoying Sigourney in that role when that character is supposed to be like in her 20s. But I just felt the way that she was carrying herself vocally and physically and everything was not the way 14-year-olds act. There was just such a deep maturity to her that I know is embedded in the character because the character is the goddess tree offspring, but still she didn't have the rapport with the others that I felt was kind of necessary. Yeah,
I think for her, it is a newer age style of acting. And while Zoe Saldana is not like some new ingenue or anything, she sure as heck could pass for one. So, I mean, like she's still killing it. So, I mean, but she's just kind of like in this, she can do a lot of things. I think Sigourney Weaver kind of hit her height when something like this, I don't think could have been imagined, having to act through all of that. And I don't think it's a matter of overacting. It's just maybe a different style of acting. I don't know. Maybe you got to have that like Jim Carrey, like rubber band face, you know? I don't know what you have to do to make it work really great. But some people do it really well, noticeably, and some people don't. So, I mean, like
they can't all be Andy Serkis, but
she didn't exactly. she didn't do it bad.
Mhm.
It just wasn't like a standout performance. But I enjoy the character. That's the thing. I
Yeah.
think that character is an icon enough where you're like, this character is achieving what we want this character to achieve, essentially.
I had
So-
no idea that it was Sigourney Weaver for like the majority of the movie. I think there, or at least
Yes, you
the
did.
no, the like you may have mentioned, like you may have said something when we watched it that gave it away, but all I knew was that I knew it was Sigourney's daughter, and I knew it looked similar, but to me her face wasn't a one-to-one. Like it didn't look exactly like Sigourney Weaver. It looked like them, like an attempt to create a CGI character of a daughter of Sigourney Weaver. So like to me, I didn't have any clue as to who was playing the character. I almost assumed that what the face was not what the human behind it looked like what the human it was. So I similar like so even though the vast majority of the avatars their faces look like the actors who play them. I think another exception is Kate Winslet, which I had no idea it was Kate Winslet until after the movie was over. And
So
you
I
mentioned it,
will
Matt.
say it took me a second to catch on to which one was Kate Winslet. Honestly, I would have bought that the daughter of Kate Winslet was Kate Winslet. But
Oh, yeah.
again, you know, I will say, and this is a thought, and this might be a little outrageous, but is it equally ageist as it is sexist to say that, like, if you were to say you couldn't have a gender bend casting, is it equally as ageist to be like, because of this technology, blah blah blah, shouldn't be playing blah blah, like, I know none of us are saying they shouldn't be doing it, but like some people are like, that's weird, why would you do that?
No,
You
I
know?
think the potential that exists is a wonderful thing to be able to allow people to play roles outside of their age range, or like just outside of the like
Physical
physicality that
limitations.
they bring to
Yeah.
whatever role. Like in theory, I really enjoyed that Sigourney Weaver was playing a teenager. I just don't think her performance was there to like
Yeah.
adequately pull off a 14-year-old. But like in the world of theater, for example, I've seen a bunch of plays where adults are playing kids and they pull it off, and it's fantastic. So to be able to have technology, I think,
Yeah.
pair with that is
Yeah.
absolutely.
And let's just be
brilliant.
grateful that it's come a long way since Tron Legacy. And it's not the weird Kurt Russell face. Butterface.
That's another movie I watched on a plane that I only have vague memories of. But
Oh, well,
Yeah.
we'll watch that any old time. So
Yeah. I tried to rewatch original Tron about a week ago, and I always get to the same point. It's when they get to the arcade, and then he starts talking to the computer, and I'm just like, I'm out now.
Oh no.
So yeah, Tron, woot.
Yeah.
AG has had so many insights. Let's see.
I see seniors playing teenagers is high camp.
Yes, just about when we were talking about fantasy versus sci-fi.
Yeah.
Bring up that. Yeah, and how I fully agree. I think this movie
digital
has
drag.
Yes. This movie has so many campy elements, and it's definitely not intentional on James Cameron's part. But I feel in some ways, I don't want to say he's a clueless director, because he's not. Obviously, he's a genius in his own way. But I think he thinks certain things carry more weight than they actually do, and they come off as being campier than intended.
I think people who are like him, it's going to come off the same. To people who are slightly different, like it's going to come off different to everybody. And I think like that, I don't know. I feel like I'm okay with that. At the same time, I think that I see your point. He needs to make a story that maybe is like, I don't know, what is it, deeper, a little bit. I don't
just
know.
better written, just compelling.
It's very fable-esque. That's how I view it. Like it's like a folk tale. So like it's supposed to speak. It's also international, so it's supposed to speak to like everybody. It's got to be translated into how many languages, and he knows that. Like it's gotta. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a
like there are certain things that I feel James Cameron intends for people to just get on board with. And first off, like I'm always here to suspend my disbelief, but I have limits, and so throwing me into the world of Avatar is one thing, but then just expecting me to accept without explanation that they can talk to the whales. I'm like, no, James.
Yeah,
'cause, like,
specifically
it's
the
too
sun,
painful.
right? It's
Yes,
not
the sun.
it's like the
But,
sequence
but
with the kid.
why is that so hard to believe? If
They
they
didn't
can
tell
speak
us that.
to the tree
No, no,
thing
no,
and
no,
they
no, no,
can,
Jeanette. It's literally just the fact that the way the scene is structured, within 5 minutes, the beginning of that 5 minutes, you have the kid literally saying the words of the whale. I can't understand what you're saying, and then nothing happens for 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden he's talking to the whale. So that's the only problem.
With
They don't.
subtitles.
The movie sold us this idea. Like, if the movie didn't even have, if they just left out the kids saying, "I can't understand what you're saying," and they just went straight into talking, no problem. Because it's like, oh yeah, of course the Na'vi speak to whales. Like, yeah, they speak to all kinds of shit. But the kids said, "I don't know what you're saying," and then they showed us
but then
nothing
we
to
find
change
out
that
later on that
situation.
they can communicate with them because then
Yeah,
when they
5 minutes
show up.
later. 5 minutes later, the kid goes from, "I don't know what you're saying," because
No,
I can't
not
understand your
that kid. I'm
language.
talking about all the Na'vi, like the ones in
Yeah,
that
Yeah, because they
area.
speak whale.
okay, yeah.
Because they live there. We buy that. That's what I said. If the kid just spoke whale, even though he's not a water Na'vi, I still would have bought it because I'm not a Na'vi. I'm not from Pandora. I don't know what the hell's going on there, right? Their guns are Avatar size. I don't know. So I would have bought that. But they sold me. The James Cameron literally wrote it in the script for the kid to have this moment where he's like, "Hey, audience, I don't know what this whale's saying."
Yeah, no, and I think
there's a language barrier.
I think it struck me as being kind of out of place just how the subtitles from the whale showed up out of nowhere, and I felt like, and I saw it twice, and maybe I missed something both times, but it felt like there wasn't that bridge explanation moment of communicating to me as an audience member. First off, water Na'vi speak to the aquatic life. Secondly, this kid is able to talk to this whale, but then just out of nowhere, it's like, hey, what happened? Subtitle: it's too painful. Even going back to Pocahontas, in Pocahontas, when she starts to speak English, we get that little bit of a visual translation where the leaves swirl around her, and then like the nature magic enables her to communicate with John Smith, and then you get the Miko and Flint looking at each other like, what? She can speak English now? Just a little something peppered in to explain in universe.
I think that this is one of those moments when it's supposed to be showing us that for lack of a better, the planet, I was to say Earth, but the planet is working in a way to save itself because it's being put under attack. Like, and that's kind of the whole, right? Like that's supposed to be the message of Avatar, is conservation and save the Earth. It's a very simple ecological conservation message. It's not a complex message. We're supposed to just give more of a crap about the Earth after we watch this movie, like,
that's
and
literally
about everybody else and about other people who are not like us. That's the whole point. It's a global citizenship thing. So I think that it's one of those moments where he's like, the Earth will do things to try to save itself. It will try to get rid of the thing that is hurting it, and it'll do crazy things, especially after seeing how interconnected this planet is. It's very obvious, right? It's like a thing that we see. It's an actual like link system.
Obvious.
Yeah. No, yeah, like I think like like the first movie, like literally that's they state that. Like they have a line, it's like the Earth listened to the call, like, Jake's or whoever says to the Earth, like, you have to protect yourself. And then, Natiri's like, look, it's protecting itself. So
the
that's
two creatures that are in, her seas and plug into her systems and all of that. Like, she's gonna be like, yeah, sure. Now you gotta do this.
Yeah. So the scene that Matt and I are pointing out where the kid says he can't understand and then all of a sudden he understands, there's you rationalizing if you're trying to justify it. Like it's not.
Well, it's like not, I prefer Jeanette explaining it to me than what the movie actually gave me.
Maybe it's not right. I'm telling you how I saw it. Like that's why it makes sense to me.
I love how you saw it, and that's I wish James had you as a consultant.
No. But I don't even.
The movie tell me that.
I don't believe
it's the same way that Alex believes that they manufactured the guns to be Na'vi sized. I prefer the Alex reading of that to what James actually put on the screen.
I don't believe. Not that this is gonna be an entertaining point to harp on, but I don't believe you, Jeanette, that that's how you saw it. what I believe happened. Here's what I believe, and you can tell me, you can disagree with me, but what my opinion is on your beliefs is this: that you watched the movie, and when that scene happened, you were there, you were immersed and engaged, and you were loving it, and you were crying, and it was a good time.
I'm there again.
And then I don't, and maybe you did, maybe at some point you thought to yourself, like you questioned the scene.
As more things happened with the creatures, I was like, oh, that's why he could understand. It happened within the 3.5 hours that I was watching the movie, Alex. Yeah, it did.
So then I'll buy that. So like but I was saying is
3.5 hours to figure this out.
Exactly. I don't think you were watching it and then it happened and you were like immediately like, oh yeah, a guy
I think Jeanette was more patient with the movie than we were.
I did need all of the pieces to be able to put the puzzle together. You're very right.
Yeah,
as most people would.
Jeanette was more patient.
Although you're suggesting that the puzzle like piece that you were missing was the piece they gave us in the first movie, which is literally in the first movie we had the planet doing everything.
That's a piece of it, and then more of the creatures showing up and seeing how they interacted with them. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it made it make more sense.
Okay, but yeah, I buy that.
Yeah, what I also didn't care for, but was also my favorite part, was when Kate Winslet was crying about the whale and giving the eulogy about how the whale composed songs. I just thought that was hilarious.
that
you did or you didn't like that?
Of the whale.
I artistically I hated it. Camp wise, I loved it, and it's what I'm going to be quoting for the rest of my life about how this whale
it was operatic.
Was a composer of great songs. And did the whale compose the opera, Jeanette?
Maybe it was a whale composed opera. I wish I could remember the name of the actual creature because I feel like I'm doing it an injustice.
I know, just by calling it the whale thing. Yeah, I know. Oh, the whale with Brendan Fraser. All the movies connect.
I know. It's all. See, this is the key.
Oh my gosh. So, Avatar: Way of Water. A lot of folks have said it's basically just Avatar 1, but in water. So
Tolkien's. They're actually Tolkien whales.
Tolkien's? Like J.R.R. Tolkien?
Tolkien whales.
Okay. Tolkien whales. Composers, mathematicians, all around.
Wait a minute. That's like the in-universe name for them?
Tolkien.
Yes. Tolkien, yeah.
But in universe, they wouldn't be referencing Tolkien.
Whales? Yeah.
No, Tolkien. It's not Tolkien.
No, not Tolkien. Tolkien.
Tolkien.
But that's what you said, Matt. You.
I made a joke, Alex, and it was funny.
And it was funny.
Yes. Tolkien, like J.R.R. Tolkien.
Tolkien, like Balkan or something. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Like Balkan.
Exactly.
I think.
Yeah.
So, what was the point of this movie existing? Since it was basically Avatar 1, but in water. We got a little bit more world building. I will say that. We got more characters, some of which I find more engaging than Jake Sully. So there is that. But it also just kind of felt like a Force Awakens situation where it was rehashing the beats from its predecessor, whether it worked or not. So what do we feel that this movie contributed to the building of the Avatar verse, of the Naviverse, the Naviverse?
I think, like I agree, like you said, world building or whatever. Like it expanded the world in a sense. Like, so we saw, but we still we saw in the first movie the like sky Navi, right? With the birds. I don't remember if we saw any water Navi.
No. Actually, this is something I want to discuss after. Do we consider? I'll plant the seed now, and we'll get back to your point, Alex. Since we know fire Navi are coming, which I love.
We know that
actually. Now. Yes, we do. The Ash.
I thought it was a joke.
Okay. Yeah, no. The Fire Navi are the focus of the next movie. James has confirmed.
Good.
So, and they're evil Navi. So fire equals evil. I hope they're red. Personally.
Wait. Where did you hear this?
Or always on fire.
Because I literally looked this up like a few weeks ago. And
James has confirmed. James has confirmed that they're called the Ash people. They're the evil Navi because he's only shown us the good Navi so far. So he wants to explore the aggressive evil Navi.
I don't know.
Yeah, so we get fire.
We should have a specifically evil race
know, but yeah,
amongst the people.
kind of problematic.
I mean,
seems-
Avatar isn't
And also kind of pairing that.
I don't know.
It's
I don't
so
know.
Avatar to have an evil race.
And I don't know why, but having them be having the evil ones be fire Navi, somehow that seems not right.
doesn't
I
seem
can't
right
articulate
either.
why. I don't know
It
why.
seems a lot. I think it seems a lot
And
better
are
than
we
what they could have
getting-
done.
Are we getting Earth or air?
They could've made them
Well,
more
okay, well, that was my question. Do we consider then that Natiri's folks, were they the air Navi or the Earth Navi?
They
Because
said
it's a
it
little
in
bit
there.
of both.
They said it in there.
They were
I think
forest
that-
Navi.
I think they're air. That's what they said.
Forest.
So
Yeah.
so then
forest.
are they
They're forest people?
So then are they the Earth Navi then?
I would call them Earth then.
Oh,
So
it's
then
like a
more so.
fundamental element or
Yeah,
whatever.
but
Even
the-
though they fly in the air, so
that's
that's what I'm
the
saying.
thing,
Maybe
they fly
it's
in
No,
the
but
maybe,
there are Sky Navi. They're a separate Navi because in the first movie they literally talk about how he went to
no.
the
The
Sky
sky
Tribes.
people are humans.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're right. I know that, but they did like in the first movie when after he's the Tuk Maruk, whatever, he takes over
Yeah.
the big flyer. They talk about the other tribes that they go to.
Yes, and they
enlist their
show
help.
them go to other tribes.
And
Oh,
but
do
they,
they
no,
talk
and-
about the-
but they call them like maybe it's the Mountain Navi or something. But they call them the ones they call them
They
something. I
live
forget
in
the
the
name.
floating mountains, whereas they don't. They
Yeah,
live in the
like-
forest and they fly up to.
Yeah, they talk about a
go-
separate
Okay.
tribe, and
So then
they're the
movie 4 is
ones.
probably more air Navi
I
than
would-
land
maybe.
Navi or underground Navi.
And then like that, but I'm thinking maybe it's ice or something.
Hmm. And yes, that's the thing. Everyone is saying he's really just ripping off the Last Airbender.
Oh, see, I never got into that. That's
Neither did I, but it
could
sounds.
see that.
I don't
I-
like anime,
that-
but everything I've heard,
But
it
that
sounds really
came
good.
after this was being created too. That's the thing.
Well,
He was already
I think-
creating this when all these things happened.
They were happening side by side, like they were in development at the same time, and then the anime had originally just been called Avatar, but then James Cameron and company swooped in and said, "Trademarked. You can't call your thing that." And they were like, "Oh, now it's the Last Airbender." And yeah, so I think all the elements are getting a Navi tribe.
Okay.
And but Ice Navi would be interesting. Although would
Well,
that just
that's
be an
what I'm
extension of
wondering.
Water Navi?
I mean, it wouldn't be. It'd just be another. It'd just be another version.
I don't know.
of-
And if we end up with that
insert
and
this
it's just
Navi.
frozen, then that's going to be disappointing.
Let it go. Let it go.
Well, we
I
didn't
feel-
get some incredibly interesting with the water Navi in the second movie. Like they were, I didn't mind them or anything, but they were. It wasn't some like, oh wow, that's a really neat interpretation of what water Navi are.
I thought,
Like-
I think
I
the little things
think
like
they
having
had-
thicker
yeah.
tails. Yeah.
And the little fin on their tail. Yeah, like I think it's a
But it's-
realistic science,
Yeah,
enough-
no, I agree, but
you know.
I'm not saying I didn't mind it. I'm like, I'm not saying,
Yeah.
saying, man, they really like did a
they
shady
weren't
job.
a far departure for sure.
Yeah, it was like, but what we got was like, yeah, okay, yeah, they're bigger because they live in the water. It's harder to walk around and travel in the water than it is to travel through the air. So you're going to need bigger muscles. Webbing is pretty common of aquatic creatures, so that makes sense. But again, and not in a negative way, but just in a sense of like, yeah, it wasn't. Anyway, I was happy with it, but like my point is that if they do Ice Navi or Fire Navi or whatever,
Yeah.
I'm expecting the same thing. I'm not going to be disappointed if if they Ice Navi are what we would think of, what we can come up with scientifically as creatures that live in a cold climate, right?
Yeah, I
And live
will
in
say
igloos, like
if he really just keeps going with elements of all of the things that people think are pandering or boring or trite or whatever, that would be the one thing that I would think would be the most that. And
okay,
I
yeah,
like
it's like
everything.
you're
If
just
he
everything's elements now.
like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
I mean,
Like,
there are so many elements, or not so many, but there are like so, and that's the thing because you guys both talked about this idea of like you and Ed talked about how like this movie you can kind of one way to maybe give it more of a benefit, is to say like it's a bridge movie, right? And it's connecting the first movie to what's coming after.
yeah.
And even like you, Matt, were talking about kind of like, for example, the idea of the Sigourney character, being more of a main character or carrying the future movie or something. We don't know, right? Like and not only we don't know as a matter of fact, but like what we have, like we can only kind of predict, or we can most accurately predict based on what we already have. And what we have are, in a lot of ways, what you said, Matt, which was two kind of versions of a very similar story, like a very similar arc of bad guys, good guys struggle to come up with effectively a big army, which is what both movies did. They effectively come up with amassing a big enough resistance to the enemy army, and then defeating them, whatever. So, and other than that, we have like unobtainium and the whale immortality oil. Like these are.
See, that's the thing. That movie didn't talk about that much after that. After we saw that one,
it was. Yeah,
and that's one of those moments where I got a little frustrated, and I was like, "That's going to have a huge to do."
Yeah, reaction
like that's going to be such a big deal.
But we have no idea because unobtainium was the objective in the first movie, and unobtainium doesn't exist in the second movie.
Yeah, because they have to mine it, and now they have to put a good face on Earth because they're still doing this, and now they can't do that. So they can't do that anymore. That's the political thing between them and Earth is a big part of this too. And we haven't really, I think we're going to see more of that in the future movies too.
But you're doing all the work for them. They didn't do that they didn't do that in the movie. There was no hullabaloo about the political stuff in Earth. You're creating your own headcanon.
It's in the original movie and it's in this one. I'm basing it on stuff that's in just information there. And again, in the park.
Although, and also James has said that they're going to Earth in movie 3 or 4.
Which great, like I agree, but like I'm like, and I acknowledge that the first movie, and I don't remember anything in the second movie of doing this, but in the first movie, I remember that they have like a throwaway line about how, that things need to look good for Earth or whatever. Like we got to justify our thing here, and we can't, I don't want a PR mess, right? I want to massacre the Na'vi to get my unobtainium because that's going to look bad for the big boss, but also the big bosses don't want to lose money, like. But that was incidental. That was, anyway, like I also appreciate the same thing with the gun thing, and there's a lot of things, that thing too, like the dynamic between Pandora and Earth, and that whole relationship, and how and what it must be like on Earth, and what it must be like to get resources from Earth to Pandora. That's just fascinating to me as a prospect. But the movies don't do movies do very little to help me here. Like they create a world.
I think there's a distinct difference between unobtainium and whale immortality oil, because the unobtainium, I think, was very much just I don't know if I'm using this film term right, just a MacGuffin in the first movie, just like a thing that they told us kind of mattered, but it was just a gateway to justify why all this crap was happening. Whereas in this movie, the whale oil, I think it's definitely a seed to be planted that will have a payoff in the future. So I predict... Okay, Na'vi have longer lifespans than humans, right? I don't know if that's true of avatars that are not really Na'vi. Can avatars die? So that's that? So there's that, right? There's this longer lifespan situation. Spider is a human. Mm-hmm. I predict he will somehow get some of this stuff, and it'll make him live longer, so that he's not some old man by the time these Na'vis are right. I think that'll play a part. And then I also feel like the unobtainium in the first movie was supposed to just symbolize like every natural resource, maybe predominantly oil, like in this whole conservation idea. But I think it's supposed to symbolize any natural resource. I don't think it played a role because it's supposed to be a part of that story. Like we're doing all this for this.
But what's the difference between that and the whale oil?
Well, the whale
oil, not, other than the taking of lives to get it.
But it's the same thing.
No, I think the whale oil came so late in this movie, and the Way of Water could have happened, in my opinion, without whale oil. But I don't think
because we had an obtainium
could have happened. I don't think original Avatar from the beginning couldn't have happened narratively without unobtainium. Like that's why the humans were there. And that's like, it was a weak reason, but it was a reason. But whale oil had no bearing on this specific movie. Like, I think whale oil was just there, like Jeanette said, to potentially justify why Spider's not going to age as quickly or something. Like, whale oil is there for the benefit of what is to come, as opposed to the benefit of this movie.
I mean, but my only problem with that is that to me that sounds like a total assumption. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, but at the same time, we have a track record that doesn't show us that that's the case, and also there's no, like, we don't have any physical, unobtainium was a resource, whale oil is a resource. There, in the analogy of colonialism and people coming to a new land and looking for resources and hurting the species and people who exist there already. Like, we have analogies for both of these things. Whaling, and literally we did it for their blubber and their oil. Like, they turned their fat into oil. Like, that's human history. That's, whale extinct, when the whale species went extinct and were severely depopulated. Similar to how we brought smallpox and killed indigenous and all this stuff. Right? All this so to me, that's very obvious. It's like, and it's very one-to-one. Like, unobtainium was the justification. It wasn't, we didn't care about unobtainium, but it was the justification. It was, why are humans on Pandora? Why did they stay as long as they stayed? And why does the military have interest on stuff? To get unobtainium. And the reason why I said it's, the cost of lives is the same between the oil and the unobtainium, was I was drawing a comparison between, like, the Navi being in the way of unobtainium versus the whales being the oil, right?
Okay.
So that was my, like, comment there. So, but yeah, so to me, thus
it
far,
does feel extraneous in this movie. To this
yeah.
movie specifically, it does feel extraneous. And I will say that's one reason that, I don't know, I'm not going to jump the gun. There's a question you're going to ask later that I'll answer. And it's one of, like, 2 or 3 reasons that I'll answer.
Let us know what it was and you'll answer it.
Yeah.
Wait, I don't know what other questions I'm planning to ask. I'm just rolling with the
it's a
punches.
question I'll ask later then, because
Okay.
I do think it's valid with this particular movie.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Just ask the question now. I'm curious.
So it was one that you posed, I believe, at the beginning of this broadcast. Do you think that it deserves to win?
Oh, right.
Or that it to be
Best
nominated?
Picture or nominated.
Yeah. While I will say I think it deserves to be nominated, I don't think that it deserves to win, because it is a bridge movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's the whale thing is one thing. Sigourney's performance is perhaps another. And the fact that it is a little repetitious of the first movie, I don't mind that. And I will give my one big note that I wanted to make sure that my little pearl about this movie that I told people is, like, this movie had to be slightly repetitious because of how far removed time-wise it was from the first one. There were so many people that were going to go see this movie that had never seen the first Avatar. There's a lot of people that will,
even though they had that period of time, right? And they've done the States as well, where they were showing Avatar, right? The first movie.
But I just think there'll be a lot of people that'll go and be like, oh yeah, let's go see the new Avatar movie. I'm not going to pay for 2 movie tickets. I'm going to pay for 1 movie ticket. I'm going to go see it.
Oh yes, some of them were doing both, or they had a recap or something. There were some theaters that had, like, a special.
Oh,
anyway,
maybe.
I heard. I
so.
heard. I didn't see it, but I heard that some theaters were doing, like, a recap or something.
And then there will be people who will wait for it to come on demand and they'll watch it that way, and they won't watch the first one. And I think if you're going to do that, you need to be inducted into the feels of it all. Like,
the Church of Avatar.
Like, you need to be brought up to where everybody else is. And so I think having mild repetitions of things that happened in the first movie achieves that. Do I think that that's something that's a knock against it as critically as a movie? Yeah. Critically as a movie, that's not good in a sense to just be repetitive of the first one. For these purposes, it makes a lot of sense if you're just trying to get people on board with a franchise that you're trying to put 4 more movies out of.
Yeah. And I think that's another thing I just don't understand is the all-out investment in this on the part of James Cameron on his world of Avatar, as it were, because I read that he wants this to be like a Lord of the Rings quality thing that he's building. Like, he wants to create a full fantastical universe that is, like, to that standard, as it were, of, like, a Harry Potter or a Lord of the Rings or Star Trek, Star Wars, whatever. And in some ways, I feel like when I read that, suddenly things made sense to me, where to me, the universe of Avatar feels like a teenager writing fan fiction that he's forcing his friends to like. in some ways. It just like, look at this cool thing I wrote, guys. Isn't it cool? And then the friends are just like, sure, James. But then he's just so persistent with it.
He has so much money.
But
Like,
doesn't
the
that
production
show that
value
it's
is
a
so
passion? Yeah, it's a passion project though. Like, right? Like he doesn't make, nor does he need to make many movies anymore. Mind you, he has not made a fiction movie since the last Avatar.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, this is,
Yeah.
he's doing this because he wants to. And
Which
so,
doesn't mean that it'll be good, but
no,
But I guess,
mean,
do we
sure,
think
but we
it's
could say
on
the
par
same
with
thing.
those other
We're going to say
franchises?
the same thing about another movie in this lineup coming.
Pinocchio?
Fablemans.
Oh, Fablemans, yeah.
And Pinocchio. There's a lot of passion projects in here that I think, for better or for worse, that's what they are. And I think I personally always feel that if passion can come through, then it pays off. But if you just do it and it looks stupid and like you got frustrated at some point, then it doesn't come off. So I hope that doesn't happen in later installments. But
well, I think with him, I question if the passion is with the storytelling or with the technological advancements for the movie. In some ways, like it feels to me almost like I don't want to use this as an example because I love this movie and this franchise, but in some ways it feels to me like a Toy Story 1 situation where the story is there to support the experimentation of, can we actually make this movie? Like, do we have the technology? Like, is the technology in a place where we can convincingly put something on the screen?
Did you not cry during the first Toy Story?
Like when I rewatch the Toy Story movies, it's very evident to me that narratively, the second and third are leaps and bounds ahead of the first one. The first one is just so simple. But
I think the first one doesn't get hurt by that, or the first one it doesn't get hurt by that because the first one's virtue.
The first one uses simplicity to its advantage, and I think,
like it's showcasing characters. It's not showcasing a narrative. The narrative is just that simple vehicle to help us experience the characters, and the writing of the characters in Toy Story 1, I think, is good.
Yeah, exactly. I think I also just love a fable style story. Like, and I do love a complicated one too, though. I mean, like, I don't know. If you do a fable well, you do something simple well, I like it. I think that's why I like Avatar. Like, Avatar stories are very folktale. Like, they are the tale of the plight of a people. It's just,
but I think fable doesn't mean like poorly written.
No, but it can be simplistic. It
can be
I don't know. I think that's why I liked the scene where Kate Winslet's character is doing that, because that's a scene where I'm a mess, because maybe it's my attachment to animals. Maybe it's because I'm a woman. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that scene makes sense.
But I'm watching it and I'm like, this is great acting. This is a heart-wrenching tale. I mean, there's freaking animals dying. Like, who's not upset about that? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Can those be cheap shots? Sure, they can. Dead animals are a real cheap shot for me personally, but I can't even sit through it if it's not a fake animal. I couldn't sit in that theater if that was.
Well, no animals are harmed generally, and even if they're
so
real.
I know that, but like if it's just I can't even do it. Like this is a moment where I get to feel some emotion attached to that and still be brought into this story. I don't know. That gave me chills when that happened. Whereas you were like, it was hilarious, and I'm like, I was a mess.
No, I think Matt and I both found that hilarious, not because like I agree with you that that's not an example of poor writing or like weak engagement like that, like not at all. Like I wouldn't the only criticism that I would have of the whales, and I think Matt and I we agree on this a lot majorly, is the way the whales were introduced to us and the way they existed in this movie.
I saw Matt say it. He wanted to say it.
The way of whales in this movie, in the way of water, is like basically it just comes down to the subtitling. the way that we understand the whales is through subtitles, right? We hear some sounds, and then we get them interpreted in the subtitles. And the way the subtitles are presented is, there's just something absurd and funny about hearing the whale go and then reading like, that was an excellent dissertation, my friend. I can't wait to hear your next musical masterpiece.
That was another thing, and you're going to tell me you didn't figure this out while you were watching that movie. What I did is that we're also supposed to feel like if we can understand, if we had subtitles for animals talking and we could just understand them.
Yeah, like in the real world or naturally or whatever.
With the world, like, and I did. That was, again, the more the whales were in the movie, I was like, oh, that's what he's getting at. He's getting at, like, all of this was like swirling about these, like this is it talking to them. She can link into that tree. They can't like, they can commune with Awa, but they can't like.
Yeah, they're not the same experience.
I feel like this is part of that whole Earth protecting itself thing. I'm like, so that to me, when they started doing that, I also am just a sucker for subtitles. I'm like,
give me that subtitles. No, but it's not even the sub. Like it's. I
was a little bummed. I will say, I was a little bummed at the beginning of the movie when he was like,
Alex missed that.
And then one day,
I missed
it. All
like,
turned into English. And then the
like,
subtitles disappeared.
I did love that they kind of did the exposition to explain that. And yes, they have to do that for everybody, because you cannot have a movie where you're like, bring your 8-year-old, but like,
can you imagine how intense it would have been for the linguists on this movie to have to write the entire movie in Na'vi if they went with that? Like, what a feat that would have been.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. And also, what was it? I had two things.
Whales.
Speaking. Hold on. Whale point. Language.
Subtitles.
Here we go. So I think the reason I found the Kate Winslet whale eulogy so funny was, first off, Kate's commitment to it, because it was a beautiful performance, as everything she does is. And the tragedy was there, but then it was just so many high concept elements converging together for me in one moment, like just buying into, first off, Na'vi, alien whales, communication, the whale being a genius that writes songs, and then her crying about how we lost a composer of great songs that was a whale. Just in that moment, I don't know, all of that came together, and it broke me. It broke me, and there it was. So, and I think this is also just an issue that I have. I have such a hard time buying into high concept fantasy / sci-fi. Like, I think that's why I don't like Dune, or I didn't care for Dune last year. That's why I have so many issues with Lord of the Rings, which I need to revisit and give a second chance to. But that's where that sits.
It is a lot of things that depend on world building, and you have to accept those concepts. And we accepted the Awa thing, right? Because there was a lot of that there already. We accept that humans come here, and I'm not going to use the R word, but like take whatever they want from the planet and just like whatever, like yes. And like it's just I mean, there are parts of it that you have to accept. When you said Dune, I was like, oh, I get where you're coming from. I love Dune. But every time I watch Dune, I have to get back into the world, right? Like this world, I'm there. I'm there all the time. So I'm like, I'm in. Star Wars, I live there, right?
Yeah.
But like other
worlds, I don't have these issues with Star Wars, and I don't know why.
But because they're sorry, but the Avatar's not high concept. Like it's nothing like Dune or like Star Trek or
in a very superficial way. It is, because
it's like Star Wars. You don't need to know anything.
Building. It's all.
But I disagree. I think I haven't said this yet.
You disagree that I have my opinion about world building?
I disagree. What?
You disagree with
that?
Matt's
It's all
opinion about world building?
Yeah, no, so to clarify, and I also haven't said this yet on the stream, but I don't think I said it, but I enjoyed Avatar too. Like I had a great time watching the movie, and I didn't expect it. Like I just want to clarify that. Like I enjoyed it, but I didn't enjoy it because of the on the world building point. I did mention how I have a good time watching a movie like Avatar 1 and then thinking about imagining, oh, like how are the weapons designed? Oh, like how are the politics on Earth, the dynamics, like, but I don't credit that to the movie. It's an incidental, like the movie didn't do that. The movie did it in the sense of it provided the opportunity for me to write my own headcanon and and start, thinking about these things, and but the movie didn't do, in my experience of the movie, when I watched the first Avatar and the second Avatar, the movie didn't do a lot of work, or a good amount of the work that the movie did wasn't I don't credit the movie as being a good example of world building. I think that there is world building in both of the movies, and I think that the world building does help it, because it does create this process that I'm talking about, where you and me and everybody, we start creating these connections in our head that the movie doesn't describe to us and it doesn't give to us. And it's not always a bad thing. I'm not saying that the movie's bad for that. I'm just saying the movie shouldn't be given credit where it's not due. I think the credit that it is due is, yes, it provided a template, a blueprint of Pandora, and it gave us some ideas and showed us some pictures and some stories of what happened.
All the clues are there, though. Like, you don't
you
put
connect
that
the
together.
clues.
Yeah.
But
I do feel like the thought is there in, like, they've done the work for us to pick up on the clues to.
And it's not even clues so much. It's like it comes down to things as simple as set design. Like, sometimes there's just things that tell a story that are just in the background of a scene.
Yeah. So, for example, in the first Avatar, when at nighttime, when all the plants are glowing, and when they're walking and the plants are they're lighting up wherever they step. I don't know if you can, but you might recall that.
Yeah.
To me, in my experience, to me, that's that's just as easy. It's as easily a product of what I think the guns are a product of, which is, hey, I want the avatars to have human guns. All right, animator, draw a gun that the avatar can wield. That's it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there was a whole writing room and a whole discussion and thought process of, oh, okay, the military would have, like, once they came 6 years ago and they had the idea of the Avatar, program, and they started designing the genetic details, then the military guys were like, hey, we're going to need to arm these guys. They might need weapons. Maybe that happened, and I know that happens in a lot of world building and a lot of IPs. I'm just, my feeling based on what I see in the movies, based on the way on the plot holes and the quality of the writing, my feeling is that world building work didn't go into a lot of these things. Similar to the bioluminescent thing. Like, to me, that bioluminescence, that could be like how, Iwa is connected to how all life is connected, and then it's, it's just electrically energized by the fact that another biological electrical being is touching it, and that's an example of the connection of all life. It could be that, and the clues are there for that. But it could just as easily have been, let's have the plants light up because it looks cool. There's no reason to suspect one or the other.
And it could have been that, and then they built a story. But the fact is, it's there, and it inspires us to think of it.
And that is a credit to the movie. Yeah. And that phenomenon is a credit to the movie. I grant you that, and I appreciate the movie for providing that opportunity for us. But I think that
I thought you were done. Keep talking. Then we're going to read Kristen's point.
I was just going to finish up to say that I think that there are ways to. I think that there are better versions of Avatar 1, especially. Certainly Avatar 2, in terms of the writing and in terms of world building and fleshing out the world. That doesn't change it to a an exposition piece. I don't think this is the salute. Like, I'm not advocating for a bunch of exposition that describes all these things in detail.
Let's not have 3.5 hours of exposition.
Even though I love, Matrix 2, and I love the whole 15-minute dive. Anyway, I'm a sucker for exposition, but that's not what I want in Avatar. But I think I think there are tweaks and little additions that don't,
the thing
that could be made.
And I might be agreeing with you here, though, right? As far as the exposition thing is, this movie, like I said before, a bridge movie essentially is just exposition for whatever.
Sure, it's set up.
So
And I feel I can respect the movie a little bit more with the thought of it being a bridge movie, because that's usually my defense for movies that people have hated on in the past, like Last Jedi. That was what Alex hates that movie. But no, Last Jedi, my defense for it was we can't hate on it until we see what it's going to be leading to in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, which was much worse than that one.
Yeah, I know. But still, I still like And no, that was also kind of the inverse of that.
There
I was
are
really
no bad
with
ones
Infinity
in those
War.
3.
What's that?
I said there were no bad ones in those 3, and it just so happened the third one was the worst.
Yeah, but and Infinity War, I was really annoyed with it because it just ended when it did, and it felt like I was watching half a movie. But I told myself, don't let yourself get annoyed because you have to see what happens in Endgame, and then I ended up loving Endgame. Yeah. So this is just, I think, becoming more and more of a norm with the serialized blockbusters that people seem to be making
because they assume you'll go see the next one.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I agree with Kristen's statement.
Oh, this is another example of one of my intelligent friends making me respect the movie more than James Cameron's work made me respect the movie. But I love this. Yeah, about the whale composer. It's a statement about how we have to go. Yeah, about how far we have to go to make human viewers care about an animal dying. That we have to build a fantasy world where they're treated as equal to humans, which is very Disney, because Disney can easily do that with animated fairy tales, which might be what James Cameron is doing, but for adults.
Yeah. So I appreciate the suggestion.
Yeah. I think he's trying to do perhaps what Adam McKay was trying to do in Don't Look Up.
So I haven't seen that movie.
Maybe. So I feel like it's a similar message. Like, you're not paying attention to the problem that we have. You're contributing to the problem, bold-faced, and saying you care about the problem at the same time. So I think earlier we were talking about what sets this apart from the second one and what we gained with this one. Like, what did we get with this movie?
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that we get is, coming into this, Jake and Natiri's family was on the run, simply away from their people of their own volition. Okay. They were running to seek refuge to hopefully save lives, right?
Yeah, that didn't work.
Coming out of
rest in peace, whale.
Coming out of this one. And also, if you wanted to do this, you could also go to freaking, like, what we can talk about, the nativity story, if we want to go into,
similar stories or whatever.
Yeah. It's tropes that we have. They just exist, and we're gonna have them. But I feel like coming out of this one, what we have now is a sense of urgency, right? They're hot on stuff's heated right now. There's no calm down period. We had a calm down period. He had time to have a whole family before. Now there is no calm down period, right? There's crazy stuff going on now. So there's a sense of urgency. There's also the fact that now he's not just on the run of his own volition, trying to hide. They know where he's at. They know what's going on. He has now embattled them twice, right? And he now is potentially on the run from all of his people. His people are not going to let him settle down anywhere on that planet. Presumably, they have a way of communicating. If there's somewhere else he can go where he's not known of, that's going to be an interesting story. I want to see that story. Is he going to literally the other side of the planet? Great.
I want him to go to Earth, and I want all of them to go into human avatars.
Oh, are they going to be fish out of water, and he's going to slick his hair back and put a fedora on and be like, "I'm going to work, honey." Exactly. It's going to be like WandaVision, but avatars.
Tara Vision. Yes.
Avatar Vision.
This kind of transitions.
That's what we're coming out of this with, I think, is this real sense of scared. He's scared. They're worried. They've lost their son. I can't. You're right. There's just, I don't say you're right. Y'all didn't say it, but people have said this. It's a cheap shot. Dead animals, dead children. That's a cheap shot.
Oh yeah,
spoiler alert.
Died.
I hope if you're tuning in, you know what happens in this movie. Yeah. But Yeah, you know, that those are cheap shots, but that's just it. To me, when I was watching it, didn't feel that way. Took me till afterwards to be like, dead animals, dead kids. Gosh darn it. Like, of course,
Yeah.
and I can't watch those things when it's real life. And Kristen's so right. Like, I can't ingest that. It makes me too upset. Like, I watch some really messed up horror movies. But kids, animals, nope, get it out of here. Like, I can't do it. In this way, that's able to like punch me in the gut and then feed me the message that is part of the story, right? Like, that gets me.
Yeah,
And I
heightens
can't
it
do
enough.
it if it's not like Avatar people, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess-
Unfortunately, I need
Avatar
to be able
people,
to
they can die.
digest it
They can
without
die.
getting too upset. I want to get too upset.
Yeah.
I feel that, I agree, but I think that's, in my viewing experience, a detriment. And comparing it to Titanic, which I watched as a palate cleanser after seeing this for the first time, like just the remarkable difference in seeing how good the performances are and the acting is in the ensemble is in Titanic versus what we get in the Avatar movies. Like, I don't think that the actors are less skilled by any means, but I do feel that there's the barrier with the technology.
There is a disconnect.
And
yes.
and there's a total
disconnect. I think it's the same difference between practical effects and CGI in the way of like Star Wars. Again, I'll bring that in here. It's the difference of the practical effects in the first one. Why does that hit me in the guts more than the prequels do? Why does that hit me in the guts maybe a little bit more than some of the sequels that we have do? But why does Mandalorian feel like old Star Wars? Because they have practical props with the volume behind them, right? So like there is a little bit more practicality. They're starting to bring more back into it because it does strike you very differently. Hot take, if there was some weird way that we could have digitally animated avatars but with practical props, that would be my ideal world. Like, what a world that is if they can touch all these physical things and live in a physical world but be digitally animated avatar. That
They do
would be
have
my
those
ideal
scenes in the
Avatar
movie. In Avatar 2, there are scenes where they're practical. So I don't know.
There
to
are
what
some
extent.
practical sets. Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
And it's when they have to be on scene with human actors. But
well, even that
anytime
water scene, I don't know if you read about that one, but you know the Jake Sully's when he's strapping his arm to the fish. They had like anyway when he's learning how to swim with the fish thing. It's just incidental, but I just read an article about this scene the other day and how that was like his arm was cracked, like it was his arm and it was water, and then
they
the
did
rest
have
of
to act underwater, so that's why
yeah,
this
and they
does
had
still
practical
work.
things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This does still hit me very much in the feels, but that at the same time,
yeah, there's a lot of CGI.
there's a lot of animation going on where, like I said, like comparing it to something kind of like Mandalorian, where there's just such this big mix of practical versus like he's in a physical outfit doing that. And I think that's the best thing I can compare it to. I would love just a little kiss more practicality, but it's hard, right? And he started this years ago before it was, now it's probably more possible. Maybe in 4 and 5, maybe we get that.
Maybe 7 and 8.
Oh, don't even put that into the universe.
Oh gosh, yeah.
There are just so many moving pieces that I think are creating a disconnect from the performances. And I love how there's so much that went into this movie that we've all read so many things about it, which is a testament to the technology. So good job, James. I read that the kid playing Spider filmed his scenes like 2 or 3 years apart, the same scenes, because first he had to do it as a reference for the Avatar characters, then he had to go back and do his part. And thinking back on it, like I feel like there definitely was a weird barrier between him and his scene partners a lot of the time. And I think in my head, I was thinking this kid is just not a great actor, but that also just put it into context where I was like, he's acting. That kid had to do the most hours because let me get this right. It's him and it's maybe 2 of the Na'vi children had to do the most acting hours because they actually had to do some shots 4, and 5 because of their age, because they're mentioning so much that they had to film
a ton, which I think got warped. There was a lot of rumors going around that all of this was taking a long time because he was trying to let children age. And I think now we're finding out it's quite the opposite. Like things were taking a long time because he was filming shots with them for future movies. Whereas he said specifically in interviews that he did not film scenes for 4 and 5 with the older actors. So it's very interesting to me. Maybe that tells us something about the story. I don't know. But basically, the younger actors had to film for 4 and 5, but there's nothing else in the can because they're still editing 3, right?
Yeah.
Like the post on this is like a year and a half. So,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just, I think this movie is more of a technical marvel than it is a narrative marvel. And something that I keep thinking back to is I was discussing this movie, like the day I saw it, I had my annual holiday dinner with Ben Gordon, who will be making an appearance on at least 2 of these shows. He's coming for Elvis and then the Prediction Show. We might remember him from last year. He's the former Cineplex pre-show host, which Alex, you might know what that means, or you might recognize it. Yeah. So he used to introduce the Cineplex movies, and I went to film school with him. So we were discussing Avatar 2, and then he brought up this point that stuck with me about how Avatar 1 started this cycle of just everything being in 3D, and it motivated studios to like take movies that had already been shot and then post convert them into 3D. And then it was just this really annoying thing where all the movies were in 3D for better or for worse, but mostly for worse. Do we feel that Avatar 2 is going to set us on a similar trajectory, either in terms of 3D or potentially more disconnecting motion capture with Navi style characters?
No, and no, I didn't go see it in 3D. Most people I know chose to not go see it in 3D. Like,
interesting.
I don't think people were all that hyped about 3D on this one, personally. I think it's not passe. 3D always has a place. It always has a reason. I like 3D shows when they're in a dedicated theater. Like I like theme park 3D shows. That's my ideal 3D show. Do some movies come off fine? Sure. The first one was okay in 3D. Like it was fun. The funny thing is, even right now, I mean, even if you go ride Flights of Passage in the wrong seat right now, it's not great. So like, I mean, like it's not perfected. So my opinion is usually why do it?
But not even just the 3D, the other tech that they perfected or refined.
I think that's already in enough things. Like I don't think
CGI is just getting better and better.
Changing anything.
I mean, it's I agree. Like the CGI stuff, all that tech is like it's everywhere.
Well, look at the announcement about Zoe Saldana, right? She's the first person to be in 4 movies that grossed over $2 billion, right? And both of those roles are motion capture roles. Now, not fully. Gamora has face paint on, right?
Yeah.
But some scenes, I think, I might be mistaken, but I think fight scenes and stuff like that, I could be very mistaken. But either way, like it's not like Meryl Streep acting, right? She's doing full prosthetic or full motion capture. Like it is the way of the future. And like you said, there are going to be older and older actresses. There's all these actresses that are aging and they're like, oh, I don't need to go get my face sliced open. You can just fix that up in the post. Thanks. I'll take that. Thank you very much. And it's a heck of a lot easier than turning you into an alien. So it's not the turnaround time on that's going to be like, oh, you can age me down 10 years. Great. Let's do that. I can go try out for this role to be a 25-year-old woman because they'll just do it because I'm so-and-so, right? I think, sure, it'll impact things, but I don't think it's anything that this specific movie's changing. I think the ball's been rolling for a while.
Well said. Alex?
Yeah. Well, I think I've voiced on this particular question. Yeah, I don't think the 3D, definitely not. I think everybody's learned their lesson with the 3D. It's like you do it well or you don't do it. And I think personally, I've come to associate, like to marry Avatar with 3D. Like I don't know, like I'll watch Avatar 2, without the 3D. Like I rewatched Avatar 1 recently at home, so without the 3D. but yeah, I definitely think like I almost feel like you lose. Like in Avatar 1 on the rewatch, like I was even like I didn't hate it because time had passed and whatever, my emotions had died, but I was like, this is just boring, and it's not even 3D. Like and that's a bit harsh. Like I said, I did my own headcanon made it more livelier than that. But uh anyway, yeah. So I personally think like I would be one to say, yeah, definitely go see it in 3D. The high frame rate, I didn't mind it personally for Avatar 2. I guess you wouldn't you had to watch them both. Like you couldn't have seen a high frame rate without the 3D. So
No, you can do high frame rate. I think you can do.
You can do that technologically, but I don't know that they had that in theaters. Like you can do that.
Okay.
I don't think I saw it in IMAX or I mean I know I didn't see it in 3D.
Yeah.
But like we have a little like local theater that we go. It's not like a super duper
smaller.
There's recliners, but like it's not like it's not crazy.
Yeah, we have those too. We have those little
So like I don't think I was seeing it in any grand capacity, and that's my thing. I personally feel like, I mean, if you if you want to go see a 3D movie and you want to have fun and you want to go see a blockbuster movie, fine, go see it in 3D. But if you want to see a good movie and you want to know if it's a good movie, it needs to be able to stand up regardless. So why not just go see it regular?
Yeah,
like
I'm dubious.
If you're worried about seeing a good movie, go see it regular. Don't be distracted. Like
yeah, and I agree, and that's the thing. Like I didn't enjoy the first one even in 3D. Initially. And so when I came to the second one, I was expecting not to enjoy it. And I was surprised that I really did enjoy it. But I'd be curious how I feel when I see
water scenes are pretty fun in 3D.
Yeah,
the
water scenes
a lot
were
of
the only
movies.
Part, and the high frame rate worked I felt in the water scenes.
Here's a question. I know it's not at Animal Kingdom, but I was thinking that studio, that theater that used to be the Honey, I Shrunk the Audience at Epcot.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Why are you not showing this there right now in 3D? Question. Like, I mean, not 3.5 hours, but maybe like a highlight reel of like cool shots of them like zooming through the water or whatever.
I don't know this for a fact technologically. I think it's a different type of 3D that wouldn't be compatible. Like, I don't think they could just show it there.
Probably
I think
not.
It would have to be reformatted because I feel like Avatar 3D and all the movies that we see in 3D now there's a term I don't know, but it's the type of 3D where it's behind the screen versus theme park 3D, which is in front of the screen.
No, you're right. It'd be cool though if they had like just water spraying you the whole time.
They're wasting that space with the Pixar Film Festival thing. Like
it makes sorry, I brought.
They could do so much more with it. They should do so much more.
But yeah,
there it is.
I love your mom's like. I'm not a fan.
Just something in. Not bad.
Hey, Martha.
Yeah. No, she messaged me last night and said, I'm not going to be watching. I don't like Avatar. I was like, you haven't seen Avatar.
Here you want a little personal story. When we went to see this, both sides of our family were here visiting for Christmas. So it was my parents, Aaron's parents, Nola, and us. So big group, all went to the theater. Everybody loved the movie. Only criticism was Aaron. He said he was like, same thing y'all are saying. The writing was shite.
Meh.
It was not what it could have been or should have been. I didn't feel that, but I don't know. I think things have a place, and like I'm not looking for it there. I don't know. I just want to be moved. When I go see one of these movies, I just want to be moved.
Yeah. No, and I had that experience like watching this movie, like as opposed to the first movie where I kind of came in with a bunch of hype into it, and to me, like, and it's not even like, I know you brought it up, like it's not inherently, there are tropes, there are archetypes, and there are story. I mean, every story is the same story retold over and over again, like. But there's just something about the way it hit me in the face, the first movie, the way it was so obviously to me reminiscent of Pocahontas that just made me like, it was just so obvious to me that by that phenomenon, it made me kind of like go, this movie just isn't interesting. Like the story just isn't taking me with it because I've seen this story before, and that's not always a bad thing and whatever, but it just didn't work in that for me. This second movie, like I came into it with all of this, baggage from the first movie, but part of that was like, okay, I'm not expecting anything anymore. I'm just going in.
Right.
I'm expecting the 3D to be good, and I'm expecting the CGI to be good. I'm hoping, and everything else, I'm expecting the writing to be as good as the first one, which isn't good. And let's go. And what I got the stuff that I expected to be good. And personally, I thought every performance, for the most part, like there was no performance that took me out of it. Every performance, every actor, like I was engaged. I was like, I believe I believe your emotions. I'm into it. I loved the water chieftain. I loved his wife.
Oh,
I love the
I wanted
kids.
to ask you, what is it that you like about the Colonel?
I'd love to talk. And
Colonel's
the
a fascinating character.
He's the standout character.
Yeah.
So anyway, the Colonel. So here's the thing. One, I think taking away like his character, the way the movie handled his reincarnation. So this idea, because the easy way to do it is to just say, is like the Fifth Element way. If you're familiar with the Fifth Element, right? We took a piece here.
It's in my top 3 favorite movies.
There we go. Classic. We can agree.
I can't test why this movie's so
great. Yeah, we can. Yeah, we'll do a Fifth Element night. No, so like, we found his body. We magicked him up, or we genetically Earth has the technology. We rebuilt him. Bam. But they didn't do that. Then not only didn't they do that, not only did they go with this, we took your memories on a computer chip, which isn't particularly interesting. It's one way to go. Okay, took your personality and memories on a computer chip, and we plugged it into an avatar body, and now you're an avatar. That's not fascinating. That's whatever. What's fascinating is that they told us this story about how, and like they gave us this premise that, hey, you're not actually the same person. Like, you're the personality, you're the memories, but also that person died and you're not him. And you know that. The Colonel, and at that point, that's when it gets into what's interesting about that character, the Colonel's character. Because the Colonel we have in the second movie at that point is no longer the same Colonel. And the movie tells us that. It's very explicit, and it tells us that through him. The Colonel himself as a character verbalizes that to himself. I'm not the same person, or to his son, or whatever.
Well, I think when he says that, it's a manipulative tactic.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I agree. But even before he says that with the kid, he has the phenomenon of watching himself die and all this stuff.
Which can we all agree is an extremely Terminator-esque. Like, I feel like this comes from that world. It's also a little Matrixy.
Never seen Matrix.
What are you talking about?
Like, what?
What are you talking about? Yeah, what are you talking about? I don't get the reference. What happens in Terminator and Matrix?
Robot, and like I'm, like this idea of like, I'm coming, I'm this thing. Times may be different, but my, I don't know, the whole timeline, and like, it's not a robot, but it's this like sentient thing that is not.
Interesting. Oh, okay, so you're saying that the character of the Colonel, it's kind of giving you vibes of like a Terminator, like this synthetic.
Well, like that story, right? Of like, synthetic. That's a better description.
Yeah. They
synthetic
created
being, that is imbued and like viewing the timeline differently, right? Like this thing is viewing the current timeline very differently than everybody else around him.
But just by virtue of the fact that he, like, his experience with seeing his own death or whatever.
Like,
yeah.
Like, he is not him, yet he is him, yet he's on the same goal, but he's on
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I can see that. But I didn't get that vibe, but it's it's an interesting
but I'm saying,
perspective.
Looking at it now through
retrospectively,
looking at it as a James Cameron film and not just as Avatar.
Yeah. It's got that, but but I thought, I personally found that aspect of his character to be fascinating, and I thought it paid dividends. I thought that what we ended up getting out of that character, there was a lot of it that was typical cliche, like, he was still the badass Colonel, and he was still, but that the character that we got in the first movie, I thought, like, there was nothing in the first movie that gave us any, like, we had no reason to suspect that Colonel was sentimental. We had no reason to suspect that Colonel would care for a kid. We didn't have a reason. We didn't have.
The fact that he has a kid, honestly, was the most shocking thing in this entire movie to me. I was like,
Wait, hey, that's the
Really?
whole point. That's the only
I
reason
also
Spider
would
exists.
love to know if that was like a voluntary child, if you get what I mean. Like, I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
who is
Yeah.
who's
Hey, you have
shacking up with this
headcanon.
guy? Like,
Headcanon. Hopefully they
yeah.
give us an answer, but they may not.
Oh,
I
maybe
would
it was
love to
Nurse
know.
Jackie. Maybe Nurse Jackie is his mom.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Can I also say, I was just thinking back, the fact that I didn't know going into this that Jermaine Clement was in this movie, and that he's
Jermaine
not
Clement.
being an
Who is he?
Aussie in this movie. He was the freaking scientist, wasn't he?
The one who was drilling into the whale's brain for the oil?
Oh, he was.
Yeah, the guy that didn't want to be
No,
doing
no,
it.
no.
That's
Was
Jermaine
he?
Clement. Come on. Stop
Yeah, I
it.
know Jermaine Clement,
You mean
Yeah, that's
Tamatoa?
Yes.
but was he an Avatar?
Come on.
He was in
I'm
Whale
not
Yeah, he
wrong
Water.
about
is.
this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, see, I
Okay,
totally
so he
know.
was he was like the guy
He
who
was
won.
the, yeah.
Yeah.
So that guy, and can we talk about the scene where that butthead
Yeah,
the
the butthead
harpoon
guy. Give me the
loses
harpoon.
his arm?
Yeah.
That was the freaking oh my
I
god!
hated that. I hated
I
that
yelled
so much.
so loud in the theater. I literally sat
Yeah.
up and
Yes.
so excited. I was so happy. That
Ugh.
scene, I felt joy. That was where I was like, I'm having a roller coaster of emotions.
I got
It's
so
amazing.
stressed out
Yeah.
when the wire went up against his arm. I just thought, I know where this is going, and I want to see it.
Oh, they could have made it more visceral for my taste.
They could have.
There
Exactly.
was.
I
Yeah.
love.
I felt it
love
actually was a
seeing-
little bit fake looking. I didn't quite believe
But
that.
see, that's what I loved. I thought so. I heard before I saw the movie, I heard in an interview, he was like, I tried to lean into like some more comedy in this one. I realized that like I gotta loosen up a little bit. And I was like, there it is. There's the camp.
There's the comedy.
There's the funny. This is great. Jermaine Clement
There
like
you go.
wasn't even being his like Aussie or not Aussie, excuse me, Kiwi self. And like he was still coming through with like that weird, like just dry.
Yeah, did he have
humor.
like an American accent?
I think
Yes,
so.
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I'm like,
Yeah.
why? Why?
Yeah.
It's James
Yeah.
Dean comedy. There.
Yeah.
There it is. All
But
right.
no, yeah. So, but then,
Yeah.
so yeah. But out of curiosity, Jen, like, what are your thoughts on the Colonel? Like, yeah, you didn't
I
you didn't
don't
care for him
like-
at all.
I can't. Sometimes I hate a character so much, and that guy,
But
he plays a villain in a TV show that I like called Salem, and he played one of like the witch hunter guys. So I'm just like ingrained. I hate that. I love him as an actor because I hate him so much. I'm like, you're really good at what you do because I really despise you. So
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I can't even wrap my head around that being my
No,
favorite
but
character.
I don't know.
That
I
was
think there's
never
going to
in
be a
the-
redemption arc. I think he's on track
I mean,
for a
you already,
redemption
yeah,
No,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
against
I
the
hope-
evil Navi.
I'm so mad he's not dead. I was so happy he was dead, and then he wasn't dead.
No, and his
No.
son saved
So
his life,
mad.
and he
He's
didn't
like
kill.
the only.
he-
He's one of the only engaging characters. Well, actually, Natiri, but all she did in this movie was scream and cry.
which is
So-
most of what she did in the first movie. In
No, the first movie,
child-
the first
Nah.
movie,
half
she did
of the
so much
first
more.
movie, she screamed and
Her
cried.
child died. Her child died.
Before that,
Yeah, and the tree died in the first movie, and
Her
her
whales
father died in the
died,
first movie,
and her banshees died.
Everybody
and
died in the first
everything's
movie.
dying.
Everything's dying in all the
Everything's
movies.
oh
And
no,
she's
like
crying
she's
all the
allowed.
time.
She's obviously justified in being upset.
Yeah.
I just
and
think
she was
that
angry that
James
Jake
Cameron-
Sully was polluting her world.
so much of the so much character focus went on Jake Sully, who's boring, and it could have gone on to Natiri, who's interesting.
Sam Worthington is a bit of a dry cracker.
Yeah,
I
He's
will
fine in the
say-
second movie. I
so
mean,
many of the
they
things
didn't,
that his
they didn't give him
character
too much
did,
screen time, and
Natiri
he was
could have
fine.
done, and I
Bit of
would
a
have liked
dry
this movie more.
cracker.
Yeah,
Yes.
but he's fine. He's not dry. He was in the second movie. He was always on a mission, and he
I
was
mean, I
always,
was-
he was like an upset dad or whatever.
I
He
was
he
ready for the
fine.
Colonel to kill him, and then we get no more Jake Sully and just Colonel in the future.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Joe, the Colonel becomes the family man. He's like,
Yeah,
I'm the father now. Come
What
here,
can I
Jerry.
What
Look
can
at
I
me,
say?
I'm the
Chris
avatar.
Pratt can't do everything.
What?
I said, what can I say? Chris Pratt can't do everything.
Oh God.
Yes.
Uh,
What
yeah.
a movie. What a
Yeah.
movie. Do we think
Yeah.
it's going to win? It's going to win probably all the tech Oscars that it's nominated
It'll win
for.
every tech Oscar. It'll win absolutely nothing else. And the fact that Zoe Saldana is not nominated makes me very upset. But
I do not want this to be the movie Zoe Saldana wins an Oscar for.
Yeah, but
I
it shouldn't-
agree, I
mean,
agree.
like, I don't know. Then
No.
Avengers. Then Avengers.
mhm.
She was hard. She was like she keeps being wasted in these movies. That's my thought.
I love her to death. If you only
I
knew my
adore her.
lifelong love affair with Zoe Saldana, I could eat her up.
Like ever since
her.
The Terminal, that was her, right? She was the gift shop lady in The Terminal. Yeah,
she was the Star Trek. She was the Trekkie. Oh my god.
Yeah. I love her, and she
so much.
Like I want her. I'm on the one hand, I love that she is the one person who has been in all these blockbuster movies. But by that same token, I think it's taken away from being able to just appreciate her. Like, I just want to see her.
Can I just say, you reference The Terminal, and I reference The Terminal like almost every day of my life, and nobody ever knows what the hell I'm talking about.
Really?
And I go, eat the bite to eat, eats a bite, and they're like, what? And I'm like,
I think I've heard you say that before.
I need to rewatch The Terminal just to cleanse.
It's my favorite Tom Hanks movie, I think.
Yeah. Did you know he was nominated for 2 Razzies this year for supporting and best actor, and both of them I feel very well deserved.
Yeah.
We'll
get into that.
Yeah. Elvis. It's fascinating to me that we can have side by side the best and worst performances of the year in one film.
Oh, right in the kisser.
I said what I said, and I stand by it. I did have a game, but it needed the third person to be here, so we don't have a game tonight.
No game tonight. This was a long one because it's a long movie. It's a 3.5-hour movie, guys.
So much movie.
Is it 3.5 hours?
Yeah.
3:20, 3:18, something like that.
Yeah.
Flew by.
What do we have coming up? Let's see.
Yeah, I didn't have to get a refill on my jumbo popcorn, so that's saying something because I eat a lot of popcorn.
Yeah. No,
will you leave the middle of a movie for a refill?
For popcorn? There's very few things I won't do for popcorn. I love popcorn.
Oh no,
respectable.
Are all the movies you have an opinion on? Is there just a mysterious blurry section in the middle?
No,
where the popcorn break?
I also have a small bladder, so parting ways with things is not hard for me. Like, I have to go for a second. I'm sorry.
Oh, now I just want popcorn. Damn it. Okay, so coming up in the marathon. Next week, we're reconvening to talk about The Fabelmans. I don't know how I'm going to watch it because it's not in theaters. And
it is in theaters, not?
It's in a very small handful of theaters, the closest of which to me is an hour and a half away. So,
oh my goodness.
I know.
Might we have a rescheduling?
In Oakville or Toronto? Or?
It's in Toronto, the Scotiabank.
Scotiabank,
the heart of Toronto. Or like
I'll fly to Toronto and we'll go see it together.
Well, I'm probably just gonna end up buying it digitally because I miss video stores because if things were normal.
Where can you buy it digitally?
At least here in Canada, all the streaming services have it to buy digitally. So like I could buy it on Google Play, I could buy it on Apple TV, I could buy it on Prime,
Amazon,
maybe.
It wasn't available to me last time I checked. If it is YouTube. Now, I'll be so happy.
Yeah. So and that's probably what I'll regrettably end up doing. But I miss when there were video stores and I could go and rent it for $5. Or
wouldn't that be something?
Apparently video stores are kind of having a comeback.
Yeah, but the kids think it's cool, guys. Yeah. It's like vinyl.
Yeah, well, my dad used to work for Jumbo Video, which is an old school Canadian video rental place. And there was one Jumbo Video in I forget where.
London?
That's never maybe London that never closed. And then there's another one apparently in Beamsville that opened like a couple of years ago.
And it's still there?
Yeah, it opened a couple of years ago. Like it reestablished, and they had the grand opening. Cool. They had the grand opening recently.
Hold on.
And what was the gimmick? It's like they have movies, and I forget. Oh yeah, they have like a subscription thing. You pay like whatever it is, like $20 a month or whatever it is, and you can. It's like you just unlimited renting. So you just come in, grab the video.
Like a library. Like a library card.
Yeah, exactly. You come in and Yeah, and in fact, I mean, libraries are
those were the days, guys.
Place.
Put your Blockbuster cards out.
Actually, you just go to the library. We have video.
I don't think the libraries are going to have the Fabelmans yet, though.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not even sure if it's on physical media yet. But anyway, Fabelmans. So that's apparently next week. Elvis, Banshees of Inisherin, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and then TBD, which will either be Tar or The Whale or both. Find out together.
Yay! Yes. I want to go see the Fabelmans in theaters and The Whale.
All supplied on the Western Front.
I didn't even know that was a thing until today. Literally.
Yeah, but now that
I'm
you know
like,
it's a
what
thing,
is
you're
this?
like, I want to watch the cool looking war movie.
Alex,
No.
if you want,
Oh,
if you
that's
want
my
to
other point.
do
If
one that
everybody
just
would
us
just
talking,
watch
I will.
Avatar movies as war movies, if you're into war movies, view it as
I'm
a war
into
movie.
war movies, and granted, there's like I enjoy the action in Avatar, but
I think it works
but
out.
it's not.
At least, especially the first one, but this one too.
No war movie in my mind. This is my hot take. Will ever surpass Wonder Woman. I think Wonder Woman's the ultimate war movie. I stand by that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't.
That's not
can't
true.
Judge. I never
It
saw
is.
it.
It's a World War I epic.
No,
Yes.
no.
It takes place during World War One.
Incidentally,
Not incidentally, the
Yes,
whole point of
that's-
the movie is that she's at war.
no,
This is
Yes.
the way
No.
of Wonder Woman.
Yes. She's looking
no,
for the god of
she's
war.
trying to kill the god of war. She's not at war. And
Yeah. She goes to war to find the god
She
of
doesn't
war.
go to war. She just it's in. She's
Okay, are you saying that she's not at the war while it's happening? She goes.
She is incidentally
to
at the war.
She goes to the war.
But
No,
she
I'm
goes
saying
to
she goes.
she goes to the war. Yeah,
See,
she does
she
go
goes
to the war.
Wonder Woman and the Way of War. Say
Yes.
that 5 times fast.
Yeah. No, but yeah, no.
The Way of Water War. The Way of
But
Water
Wonder Woman is a
World.
good movie.
Wonder
Hey,
Woman.
Waterworld's
Can
a
we
classic.
have the Way of Water World where Kevin
We can.
Costner interacts
We can.
with his
With the
little
Avatar.
webbed feet with the Avatar
Yeah.
people?
He comes
We
and he
have
kicks
that.
their asses.
What
The
a
Way of
crossover!
Waterworld.
What a terrible crossover that nobody.
He's the
wants.
sage that taught all the
I
water
want
how to
that
be.
because I like Waterworld, and maybe that says more about me than it does about anything else.
I need to give Waterworld a second chance. My only passing interest
do.
in it is that the girl who played Alice in one of my favorite Alice in Wonderland movies is the kid in Waterworld. So I don't think she did much else. And there it is.
Is that her?
Yeah,
Oh,
the one from
not
the
one
Whoopi
from
Goldberg
Tim
Alice.
Burton. Oh,
No, the Whoopi Goldberg. I don't like the Tim Burton Alice movie. We'll discuss.
we'll
that.
find out during Alice Month.
Alice
Yes.
Month. Yes. So yeah, there it is. Oh yeah. So wait, Alex, do you want to do All Quiet on the Western Front? Because we could just discuss it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we could even do like
Watch
a
party.
yeah.
Alex and I tried to do a watch party at Christmas. It didn't work out.
Well, we watched a couple things.
We did
and
watch.
It was
And you
it was
partied.
kind of a party.
You watched and you
We
partied.
watched and we partied, and then
Yeah.
I reviewed the footage.
The pizza was
and
cold.
realized that it
Cold
could,
pizza.
if it went on my channel, I'd be demonetized. So there it is. There. So one day the footage will resurface. I have it on my computer. It's entertaining in its way to watch. But yeah, we could do a All Quiet on the Western Front watch party with cold pizza. It'll be great. There it is.
No, but it's not. No, we either need to do like proper cold pizza where we refrigerate it and eat it the next day, or we just gotta gotta get the pizza
fresh?
sooner. Yeah, you eat it fresh.
Well, hold on. It's time to be real.
Oh, okay. Are you familiar with that app, Jeanette? The Be Real app?
No, I have
Lyle.
no idea what that means.
So apparently there's this app that you can program it or whatever to randomly notify you throughout the day, like to say, hey, it's time to like do the thing. And what the thing is you just like the idea is that it'll record your front and rear facing camera simultaneously for like a few seconds, and you're just showcasing, in a real way. Like you don't have time to. It's like 2 minutes to do it. So
Want to see what's really creepy though?
Be a fake person online. You just have to say like, here's what I'm doing.
I have two different expressions in my Be Real from my front and rear camera, which is just
because it's the time.
Like, so that's me on the screen, but then that's apparently what I look like while I was taking the picture, and I'm having a full Matrix moment.
Yeah.
What is real?
Yeah.
What is the way of water?
It's an interesting idea, but
Did we like the way of water? Did we like what they said the way of water was?
It has
what
no
was the way of
beginning and no
water?
end. The way of water has no
it's like a
beginning and no
poem.
end.
Yeah,
it
that's
is
just
birth
like
and
part
it
of
is
the poem.
life. It is the great composition of the whale.
No, that's not the way of water. It's not the composition of the whale.
Composition of the whale.
You made that part up.
At least the first like 5 or 6 words were lifted from the movie.
Yeah.
Took creative license.
Banshees and whales all tied.
Yeah, all connected.
And everywhere, everything all at once.
All at once.
Because water has no beginning and no end.
And no end. And Jamie.
It's everything everywhere all at once. Hey, Dune, water. water too, and it's like they call blood water, and life is
Where's
water.
that Hatteract? What is in the box? Pain.
Pain.
So glad that's behind me, and I never have to watch it again until the sequel comes out. So many movies.
Yeah.
Oh, it looked like Jeanette had something to say.
No, I was saying,
No.
yeah, I'm with you.
Yes. Anyway, yeah. Closing thoughts on The Way of Water and The Water is the Way, Avatar, Oscars.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the next one. I'm sad that it won't be for a while. I think it's another like 2 years or like all of 2023, and it'll come out in 2024.
I'm excited, for the Fire Navi.
I just want another one, and I'm gonna rewatch this one as soon as I can. I'm not gonna go pay for another ticket. I'm gonna wait for it to come out. So yeah, we're not back in the day where I have to go pay to go see it a bunch of times. So yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, I enjoyed it. And I think for my part, I'll be curious to see it in 2D and see how I feel. But for my part, I feel like almost it might be one of those movies that like I don't need the first one anymore. Like Avatar can start with the second movie for me.
Yeah.
And I think if I do that, and the next movie is as good as the second one, and but doesn't if it's another rehash, if it's another forget unobtainium, forget whale oil, we got this new thing.
The lava from the ash.
Yeah,
also,
I agree.
You got to raise an army and beat the bad guys.
Third time, I don't know that I'll be able to.
Then I'll just have to pick one of the others, and then there'll just have to be one Avatar movie in the canon, in my canon.
Yeah.
But hopefully there'll be a second one, and it'll be good.
Yeah, so. And we know it's going to end with Jake Sully opening his eyes, and there it is.
Oh yeah, both the first and second movie end on the final eye open shot.
Yeah.
So they gotta. That. I'm with you there. I would be disappointed if they don't end it with Jake.
You know
Sully
what I would love?
Closed eyes opening.
I would be so happy if the third movie ends with a human Jake Sully avatar opening its eyes, and then the fourth movie is My Dream, where they're all humans, and then we just get human interaction and good performances like we had in Titanic.
I think there may be. That's a good point. There may be a movie eventually where they have to choose whether they want to all be human or not.
Yes.
That'd be cool.
Oh, like maybe like Neytiri becomes like human, or it's like a Shrek thing now.
I'd be down. As long as they explain it right, I'd be down.
Yeah. I mean, they already have all the mechanisms. They already have like the Ewok can transfer you, every which way. So
did you say the Ewok?
No, I did sound like Ewok. He said Ewok.
Just imagine if it was. Imagine if it wasn't Ewok though.
I mean, you have to imagine it's the world building is so thin that we can just do it ourselves. So we can.
I would love that if no explanation.
We can make that fill that gap ourselves.
If the scientist who's in charge, imagine the scientist who's in charge of putting them into human avatars is just an Ewok, and we don't question it. It just walks in. It just Ewoks in and does the thing. It hooks.
No, it's Yoda floating on his little floaty chair from the prequels. It's just Yoda floating in.
And then
floats off.
Shows up. Okay.
Oh.
We've gone off the rails. Would you have one too?
Oh no.
Yes. We love them.
Mine doesn't have.
You guys should cut off the tags.
No. What's wrong with you?
I just like the aesthetic of a tagless
I also have
plushie.
one that I made. Sorry, this has nothing to do with Way of Water, but I have one that I made.
Oh my gosh, you
made that?
Wow, it's so impressive. It looks like the real deal from Disney World. Better, in fact. What's it made out of? Did you felt it? That's not felt. Is it felted?
Yeah, I felted it.
Oh my god, that's so cute.
There's a whole world of making plushies.
I would buy that at like an artisan market. Absolutely. Anyway, here we are.
So yeah, I'm excited for the next one.
Yeah, me too. Go Oscar season. Woo. Love it.
Yeah, right. No Oscar here. I don't think this is winning.
No, well, it's definitely not winning Best Picture. It's going to win all and it only got nominated for Best Picture in like 3 tech awards. It'll win 3 out of 4.
Is there anything that you guys have seen that would even compete with it technically? Like CGI, I don't know, cinematography.
I don't think.
I don't know anything about like the OST. The music actually didn't stand out for me in the movie, but that could have just been because I was so distracted. Like I was so focused on like the
music is one of my
elements.
favorite parts of all of Avatar.
Yeah, and I feel like I've heard it being praised for the music, but I just personally didn't pay
It's
attention.
amazing. I listened to it in my car. I literally
Like just the
listened to
soundtrack.
the
Yeah.
soundtrack of The Land at Disney, but it's the same guy. It's Simon Frangel or Fragel. It's
Same
amazing.
composer or whatever.
Well, I'm looking up what Avatar 2 is actually nominated for. Visual effects, production design. Oh, it's interesting it's not nominated for cinematography because original Avatar won for cinematography. So I think that's
because it's not a new concept. Stop,
That's
not stop motion. I'm sorry, motion capture is not.
capture?
It's not new now.
Cinematography typically is where to give like cutting edge,
Yeah.
I remember just being really annoyed that a mostly animated movie won for cinematography when Avatar came out. Like I know motion capture is not technically all CGI, but also kind of is. But no, it's nominated for visual effects, production design, and best sound, which I can see, and best picture. I can see it winning for those three.
Yeah,
very easily. So, yeah, but I have to keep notes for Oscar pool night because I want to win this year. So we'll see. Yeah. Anyway, time to say goodbye. Closing thoughts. Alex, you go first.
Closing thoughts. Glad we did that.
Okay, well then just tell the nice people where you can be found on the socials and sign off.
Okay. I won't tell you where I can be found on the socials, except to say that you can catch me here occasionally. Teacup for one. And this has been Alex T-Tie signing off.
Okay, well, to follow that up, I am Jeanette. You can find me at TinkerJ787 on Instagram. You can find me here on Teacup for One, especially during Oscar season. I am definitely feeling it this year. And you can find me on We Like Theme Parks, and that will be on Thursdays on the Chip and Co. Podcast Network. So yeah, you can find me there, and then just come follow my fun Disney adventures. Hopefully I'm going back soon. We just renewed our annual passes, and now they're burning holes in our pockets.
Woo! Burning! Fire Navi. Thank you, Jeanette. And this is my channel. If you're watching, please subscribe. Thank you so much. Join us next week. Same time, same channel. We're going to be discussing Spielberg's The Fabelmans, and I'll let you know whether I am happy or angry that I spent $25 to buy a digital copy. But until then, friends, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees, and this has been the Teacup for One. How do you end this?